The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
We're back with main studio guest, of course, Cynthia Tenorio Terlai. Cynthia, prior to going on the break, of course, you consulted a priest that basically said, "Hey, that was war," and of course, you know, now we know PTSD can affect a lot of different people, not just during war times, but whatever it may be, it can affect. And I understand that in regards to that. But I, you know, as a parent, you're a parent. I mean, I've also heard of stories. I've interviewed a lot of folks in regards to wartime stories as well, who've had family members who had passed, and they have just done just the opposite. Especially younger kids, they embrace them until finally they said, "Hey, Estelle, let's bury let's bury this baby. Matayin nini. Let's bury him. You know, there's nothing you can do." But the just not wanting to hey, this is my child. They can't be right like that. This is just the opposite of other stories that I've heard in regards to, again, the folks who don't want to part with their loved ones. And again, PTSD, I don't understand it basically, and maybe that's part of a reason. But
yeah, I call that to myself too, you know. But then when the priest told me, just forgive, you know. So I said, okay, I have forgiven, but I still cannot forget, and still, it bothers me. And then, the trouble is that some of my siblings don't, appreciate, I think, what I'm saying. But hey, this is my story. Nobody was there with me. That's why I'm telling it, as it is. Until that one day when, when the man had came in and took me.
So this individual that picked you up, a man. So let's go with it. Let's go with that story from a continuation.
Okay.
With that.
Okay. He came in and then he took me. He says, "Do not be afraid. I'm going to take you. I'm not going to leave you here all by yourself. Do not be afraid." So when we got out from the Bokungo, he looked around. His wife and child was gone. She started following the other groups that were going. So we were all by ourselves with the other people that are going. So I had no idea how long we stayed in the jungle, trying to go to safety. And once in a while, I'll tell him to please, put me down so I could, release what I had the diarrhea. And he told me, he says, "Babe," he called me babe. He says, "Whatever it is you have to do, you put mata sinik tat kita, just go right ahead, but I'm not going to stop. We're going to keep on going." So we keep on going until we reached Agat. After we reached Agat, he handed me over to the military. It was, and then the military had cleaned me up and everything and put IV on me, and they popped a tent for myself, so, and a cot, for me to sleep. And once in a while, they'll come and check on me and everything. But, was giving me food and Red Cross outfit, just. And then one night, I slept, wake up, and then sleep again. Until 2.5 days later, when the people were coming out from the jungle, I was right outside my tent, watching the people, trying to see if I could recognize anybody. And then finally, I recognized my sister and my mother. And then I wave at them, and they says, "Oh," they start running to me. And that's the time when we got reunited. But that was 2.5 days later. And they left me, and I was there. I got first before them.
You got there before
yes.
them. Now, when you were reunited with your sister and your mother, did they ask you how you got there and all that? Were they surprised that you were there?
I guess so, because they probably thought of, they're seeing a ghost or anything, but, it's just, there's so many things that I just,
sure. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just, trying to be alive. And,
Sure.
Was it happy that I'm alive and, I'm well again.
Sure. Now, Cynthia, I mean, your story goes into this, that you never knew the individual, that man that saved you. Okay,
that's right.
And obviously, later on, when you found out he was not, he was not the individual that supposedly one of your siblings said was going to be the one to take you away.
No.
He's not the individual. But over the years, you go on to say you never knew who he was.
No.
He never knew who you were.
No.
And actually, you went on and you got married to Terlahi,
Yes.
okay, to Terlahi, and of course that's why you're Cynthia Tenorio Terlahi.
Right.
So, and then you really didn't tell your husband, or whatever you told was not believable to him. I mean, it wasn't a story that's too believable.
He doesn't believe me. And sometimes I get mad at him and says, I'm telling you the truth. This is it. That's my story. I was abandoned in the Bokungo, and then a stranger came and picked me up. And then, after his retirement from the army, we start fishing as a family, group on weekends and things like that. And then we got introduced to the Terlahi from Zonia, yes, the Pido family.
Pido, yeah,
yes.
Former mayor.
Yes,
yeah, that family.
The grandfather.
The father, okay.
And then we what's that, Novena? I think Santa Maria Novena,
Okay,
Santa Maria.
okay.
We always provided the seafood.
Okay.
So one night, when my mother came from the mainland, to visit, and she saw a pan of fish, and I said, "Hey, what you going to do with all this?" And then we told her that we were taking it up to Zonia, to the,
Terlahi party, yeah.
Pido.
Pido's party,
I said,
yeah.
Tatampido,
Sure.
Tampepin Pido, because that's my husband's uncle. I said, we're going to take it up there because this is what we do every year.
Yeah.
And I didn't even say goodbye to my mother. My husband and I just carried
Sure,
it
sure.
and put it out in a truck and went up. But it was a coincidence that when we got to Zonia, they're talking about the war.
So people were talking about their war
the
stories.
family, the families are all talking about the war. And, we came in and sat and Tibek and, everybody said, hey, come on, Cindy and Pete, sit down. So, let's listen to the story of the war. And, before going up to Zonia, that's the time when my mother told me that when we get up to Zonia, see about that Pepin Pido, that he had a son by the name of Francisco. He's the one that saved your life. That's when I ran out. Took my husband thing and we went out to the car, to the truck. And then we went up there, and then they told us to just put, send somebody to get the fish and put it on the table and just sit down and relax and listen to the war story. I was sitting, just like this, and on one side by the door. My husband was standing right behind me, and I wanted to go over there where he was sitting to give him a big hug and thank him for saving my life. But my husband just pushed me down, and they start talking about the war, and then I wasn't even paying attention to the other stories.
The other stories being told, yeah.
I was just wanted to, to listen what he had to say.
But that individual, his name is Francisco, right? So he never knew who you were, right?
No.
I mean, he didn't know that you were the girl.
No,
he didn't know.
I've been going up to the house, and I didn't know it was him, and he didn't know it was me.
So anyway, people were telling their stories, okay? When did Francisco start telling his story then? After?
Well, yeah, that's the time when when his story came. I didn't tell him to tell his story. He started telling his own story without my asking. But then, he plays the accordion. So what he did with his accordion, he went and put it down. And then he just took a deep breath, and he says, well, there's only one thing I want to know before I, leave this world, is to find out about this girl that I picked up in Maningon. Whether she's married, died, or off island. That's the main thing that he really wants. But my husband just kept, holding me down. And then they told my husband, what's wrong with your wife? Boy, that she called story really touches her, And my husband says, can I just give her a glass of water, please? And then after that, I told him, I said, can you please repeat it again? So he repeated, the story. He says, that's the reason, that's the one thing that he wants before he passed, to see about the girl, that he picked up.
So Francisco basically told his story, and the one story that stuck out in his mind is the girl that he picked up in Manyengun, and he didn't know what happened to her. He didn't know her name. He didn't have no idea who she was.
That's right.
Whether she was still alive, a figment of his imagination. Basically, he didn't know. He didn't know nothing about her. I got to take a quick break. I got to pay some bills, Cynthia. We come back. We probably have to say goodbye. This will probably continue the story in the next episode. Okay, be right back.